See how you automatically were like, I hate anxiety. I did too for most of my life. And then I was with a friend who is a neuroscientist about anxiety. And she said to me, Mark, tell me all the things that make you anxious. I said, well, I'm anxious about fundraising. And, I got to raise the money to keep the research going. I'm anxious to make sure, I want to make sure that like everything we do is high quality. And I went on and on. And then she asked me another question. She said, well, what do those have in common? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I thought about it and I said, well, those are things that are important to me. And so she said, so why would anxiety be a bad thing?
If we accept the idea that all emotions are okay,
Yeah.
but that the expression of all emotions is in every context is not okay, that it should
Correct.
be context specific.
Yes.
I actually think that provides some freedom. I can feel that freedom. Like it's okay to be super angry. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be anxious. But how that's expressed is what's critical. It makes good intuitive sense. I think that what's hard to know is what to do with the emotion if there is no outward expression of it.
My dad would have a hard day at work. Daddy, let's play. Son, leave me alone. Done. Like that was the end of it. As opposed to dad comes home. Daddy, let's play. Son, you have to realize, I have to just tell you something. I just had a really rough day at work. I actually got into a fight with a colleague of mine. Didn't go well. And I said something that I really feel bad about. And so daddy just needs a little bit of time to just process that, to just think about what I can say tomorrow to kind of help my relationship. And if you don't mind, I need that time right now. I love you and we'll play later, but right now I'm just not in the right space for it. Okay, son? And then I think what most people misunderstand is that like what we regulate are emotions. And like what I do, for example, to deal with my anxiety is really different than my anger, than my worry, or other emotions, in that it's a function of the emotion you're feeling. It's a function of me as an individual. I am on the neurotic side. I'm on the introverted side. And so my strategy selection would be influenced by that. And then the context, like right here, right now, like I know you're into fitness and like running and, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, Andrew, I'm really nervous right now. Like, do you mind if we take a break and I go for a run? You're like, it's a little weird, Mark. So context matters. You got to, like right now, if I were anxious, it's like, Mark, you got to use some cognitive strategies or breathing work. I can't go anywhere, so I'm stuck. And I think people need to see that kind of full spectrum. There are no bad emotions. Your relationship to anxiety.
I hate it.
Okay. See how you automatically were like, I hate anxiety. I did too for most of my life with a friend who is a neuroscientist about anxiety. And she said to me, Mark, tell me all the things that make you anxious. I said, well, I'm anxious about fundraising. And, I got to raise the money to keep the research going. I'm anxious to make sure, I want to make sure that like everything we do is high quality. And I went on and on. And then she asked me another question. She said, well, what do those have in common? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I thought about it and I said, well, those are things that are important to me. And so she said, so why would anxiety be a bad thing? And I think that we have to learn how to adopt a mindset around emotions that there are no bad emotions. It's what we do with our emotions that makes them harmful or difficult for us to live our lives, especially for men is weak. You got to be tough. You're the, the person who has to, make the ends meet. You're the, the hunter-gatherer. And obviously times have changed. And what we find is that what I'm really pushing for is like around emotion and about talking about feelings. And so what we find is that boys generally feel more inhibited just saying how they feel, especially when it comes to kind of the sad, disappointment, ashamed emotions. It's much easier to express the anger, and the outwardly expressive emotions, but the deep ones that are self-conscious. And so that's the point. The point is that we raise kids, boys in particular, to believe that these feminine type emotions, which are not feminine by nature, they're just human emotions, are weak. And therefore, that means I'm going to be perceived as not only weak, but potentially homosexual. And that's also a stigma. And so what do? I suppress, I deny, I ignore. Interestingly enough, for women,
I have assumptions around it. I was telling someone the other day, because I spend a lot of time alone and I'm fairly introverted, but if I go into a crowded environment for the first 5, 6 minutes, I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. Like, whoa, it is really crowded in here. There are a lot of people. And I actually feel like I have a bit of a social interaction disorder for those first few minutes. But then after about 20, 30 minutes, I'm in that experience and I feel like I'm very comfortable. So I have this mindset that social anxiety is something that is like wading into water. It's always a little bit too cold at first, or usually is a little too cold, but over time you acclimate.
a lot of people think emotion regulation is getting rid of a feeling. It's not what it is. It's just having another relationship to it. I've had anxiety or live with it for a lot of my life, but sometimes I just say hello to it. It's like, hey, how you doing today? And it goes away pretty quickly, or it just sits there. I think that's the other thing about emotion regulation that people kind of misunderstand. They think it's like, I got to check in with how I'm feeling all day long and then regulate, check in, regulate. Like you'd become psychotic if you did that all day long. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, our emotions are in the background. You know, like if you thought about your feelings all day long, you wouldn't be able to do this podcast. Like that's unproductive. Emotions matter when there's a shift in our environment or the relationships. You know, if you said something that offended me, boom, I'm activated. I'm feeling angry or kind of shocked. Then I have to make a choice in that moment. Like, how do I manage it? That's where the magic happens.